And it's no secret, agriculture is probably one of the, we should celebrate that. That's natural. I worry more about things that never change, to be honest.
Okay, welcome to today's podcast, and I have a very special guest for today. We have Hussam Yaccoub, who is a global B2B executive with over 30 years of P&L leadership across Middle East, Africa, Turkey, Central Europe in the business of fragrances, flavors, and specialty ingredients, driving growth and transformation across industries ranging from luxury brands to essential goods. He brings a very deep expertise in global strategy, risk management, ESG, and governance in highly regulated industry. Currently serving as a vice president for Tate Lyle, covering Middle East, Turkey, and Central Europe. Very warm welcome to you, Hussam.
Thank you, Amit. I'm very happy to be on the broadcast. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah.
So, what will be very interesting for our viewers to know, Hussam, industry operates largely in areas where things might be behind the scenes for most of the people. In order to set the stage a little better for our viewers, could you also articulate the fundamental role your industry plays?
Sure. It's a very good point, actually. You're absolutely right. We're not a consumer-facing brand. Our customers are consumer-facing. We're not. You'd enjoy your favorite cereal and yogurt brand for breakfast, but you wouldn't know who is behind the creaminess of that yogurt or the fibers or the naturalness of or the non-sugar sweeteners in that cereal. It is companies like us that make that happen. And the way we operate is pretty simple, honestly. We start from the obvious. Food should be delicious. That's the first thing that you really expect from food. And that's all food, healthy or otherwise. If it's not delicious, it doesn't make sense. So our scientists start to develop solutions that help food and beverage manufacturers to formulate or reformulate tasty products that bring pleasure to the consumers. Think of a beverage or let's say something to eat like a cookie. Think of the texture, the mouthfeel, the taste. That's these are all aspects that consumers probably unconsciously look for. Uh, you have that cookie, if it doesn't even crack, the sound if is not right, you would feel the taste is not right. But all intricate aspects that probably not very well clear or thought of by consumers. However, it's essential for food to be consumed with pleasure. That's where we fit in. So we help that food formula to be on the right texture, the right sweetness, right creaminess, simply like we started, really delicious for you to enjoy. Now, how do we do that? Obviously, it's a bit of science and art. Science is behind the ingredients and making sure that they are right for you, healthy. And then it's chemistry, as you know. You put things together, they need to react in a proper way to arrive at the right texture. That's where the science fits. But then it's not all about science. You do not eat in a laboratory. It has also to have all the other elements that makes it more pleasurable. Think of an ice cream. It could taste beautiful and you love it, but if it melts a bit faster than it should, or a bit, let's say, earlier than it should, then you're not happy. So it's about also the art of making food pleasurable, not only scientifically good. It has to be good for your gut health. So certainly you need the right texture and fibers, but it doesn't have to be rigid when you taste it. It's things like that. That's what we aim to do.
Good. So, what's very interesting, I mean, you're talking about food, and I'm thinking of ice creams and cookies and this and that. Everything is more of an imagery. I think that's where the art is all about, and making it feel, oh, ice cream is not melting in my hand, but it is slowly being, savored differently and
Yeah.
enjoyed. Wonderful. And I believe as you are doing this, it's ensuring this is more natural so that people get best of the food value. At the same time, the food is taken care in a way that the wastage is also less, right? I believe it's a natural phenomena to preserve the nutrition and also to ensure that there is a longevity which is adequately taken care beside all this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again back to ice cream. If you would not be able to do the right texture and meltability, you will not be able to transport it,
Mm,
and you will not be able to keep it for a certain time on the shelf. It still gives you the same behavior while it melts and while you use it. So clearly, you need to employ a lot of science into your formulation, taking into account the points you mentioned. The shelf life, packaging makes a lot of difference. Transportation makes a lot of
right.
difference. And that's not only to taste, by the way, it's also to waste into the environment. So imagine
Yes.
you can extend the shelf life of food while keeping it healthy. That would reduce a huge amount of waste that goes really for nothing. So there are elements also to it apart from just the tastefulness and the deliciousness that you expect from food for sure.
Thank you. I think this is a wonderful statement. This, what we are talking about, is a perishable commodity or perishable item, which is food. And it's important that you are actually solving the problem of hunger, right? If there is less product that gets wasted, more people get a chance to eat. Good. I think it is naturally leading us to the next question for you. Uh, as this industry is working to reduce the calories, and you mentioned enhancing fiber, elevate the nutritional profile while preserving and which is non-negotiable the right standard of taste and all of it, right? What competitive pressures are defining the landscape for your industry today? And looking ahead, what advanced technology platforms, predictive capabilities you think will anticipate to bring for customer expectations, maybe 5 years or 10 years out, particularly in the context of plant-based growth, broader challenge to global nutrition, and all the things we are seeing more and more.
Mhm. Look, we all understand, I guess, that taste in its broader sense is a combination of many things. It's not only the flavor, it's the texture, it's the sound of food, like we said earlier. And that's indeed non-negotiable. But then, of course, it has to be nutritious and it has to also be enjoyable. I focus a lot of the joy because think about it this way. So some of the best time you spend with your loved ones is around a meal. And the food has to complement it properly and be nutritious at the same time. Now, why I'm saying this is it's to indicate that food is not a static thing. It evolves with societies and it evolves as societies evolve and needs evolve. So it's something that you cannot formulate and let go and it floats on its own. You need always to attend to it and make sure that you're backed with iterations to suit or to answer specific challenges to your point that arise at certain markets, be it regulatory or change in taste or generational change also. Think about it this way, the more people spend time outside, the less they cook, the more they need food that's packaged, and that changed the whole concept of preparing food or the way you prepare foods or ingredients. And to be honest, that aligns perfectly with companies like us. We like these challenges where we put our scientists to work towards them and see what's the best solution we can come out with. And if you look, and I'm pretty sure you see it clearly, there is a growing attention and awareness to health and health requirements. People are talking about fibers and calories in a way today that never been even 10 years back, even 5 years back. So you need to reformulate to satisfy these needs while still keeping, like we said, the taste and the texture non-negotiable, pleasurable. So I'd say generally the challenge is really external, mainly factors like regulations, population, demographics, growth, and so on, and then internal within the industries itself. The more regulations you get, the more ingredients are either limited or disappear, and that requires again rethinking of the whole formula or the whole way you create food. And then, to your point, it's not enough to look at what's in today. If you're not future proof, it's difficult for you to continue, and it's difficult for you also to satisfy the needs of your consumers. Probably people do not know that, but for you to formulate a new cheese, for instance, variant, it, it could take around a year from the time you start making the formula until the time that cheese is sitting on the shelf for you to buy, between formulation, production, stability testing, and approvals, and so on. So you always need to look very carefully what the future is. Otherwise, you end formulating today what will not be acceptable shortly after. So, so that's really the challenge, to be able to forecast the future, to be able to use your own proprietary, like we do, and some of our also peers, consumer understanding modules for us to be able to forecast what's to come.
Got it. So, since you have worked across the major global, I would say, ingredient, flavor, texture, and companies, whether it is IFF, Chivaga, Tate Lyle, and all of this, right? And you say the journey to create a cheese of a particular type could take up to a year. Do you also see a difference, for example, a cheese of a particular type in, for example, Netherlands or France? Is it similar to those who are demanding such thing in North America or in Latin America or in Asia or in Africa? How do you address such minor, or I would say, I should not say minor, but some of the focused consumer behavior led
Yeah.
challenges?
Yeah, look, food is very local.
Okay,
You might follow trends in fashion or
right,
architecture or I don't know, car designs, you name it. But food remains very, very local. And sometimes I say very, very, to say, e- even if you are in a country, between one city to the other, there are big differences in the way you consume food, expect food, formulate, cook, or even value food. So I'd say differences are huge. But then we we often refer to these things as chassis. It's like the chassis of your car, where you have the key building blocks,
okay,
and then on these key building blocks, you're going to create variations depending on who you're talking to.
got it,
Sometimes within the same country, within the same city, within the same ethnicity, if you wish, different age groups would require different food. Uh, so you need first to identify where's your chassis per se. Where are the key building blocks? Work on these, make sure they're right, make sure they're future proof, and then you start iterating as and when you see. Sometimes you iterate just because of regulation. We see it around the world these days. Clean labels, things have to be mentioned on labels, and things have to disappear. Sugar taxes in the area where I operate, all that changes the way you look at food and reformulate. But then consumers do not care. They still want it healthy and nice and taste the same, although you reduce 50% sugar. That's your challenge. Yeah.
right. That's pretty interesting the way you explain. It's like the sachet of the car, which is the platform, and the taste can vary within the city itself with demography, but it can
Yeah,
be very different in the same country across cities. And it's
yeah.
it's a very different trend than a traditional fashion industry, the way you say it,
Oh, yeah.
which is very, very local heavy. This brings us to the next question. Is I was just This is leading through the transitions, what we are seeing, right? Where we are navigating a very profound transition. There are simultaneous shifts we are seeing happening in supply chain. There are shifts happening because of energy, because of AI. Technology was always an enabler earlier, but it
Oh,
has
yeah.
taken a center stage now. It is itself driving with AI coming in, and demography, of course, which you just spoke about. Beyond the science of formulation, whether it's engineering textures or removing millions of tons of sugar, which you just mentioned, like 50% less sugar from the global diets, how is your organization positioning itself to lead these converging and diverging forces and turn these potential disruption into an advantage and an opportunity for some?
It's a very good point, actually. Like we said, it's never static and everything keeps changing, and you need to respond and anticipate, and sometimes contribute to the making of the change. Otherwise, you can't survive. Look, with regard to supply chain, to your point, there has been a lot of challenges started from the pandemic and what follows later, and the disruptions that follow because of geopolitics, as you know better than me. And the way we're trying to address this is a couple of initiatives. We make sure we have proper footprint across the globe, supply chains work faster, more efficient across geographies. And of course, that reduces carbon footprint significantly because you ship less. And then we work with our farmers and growers. As you know, we start from nature eventually. So we need to work with those very closely to make sure that we have a not only supply chain security, but we are also responsible towards our suppliers and their communities. So we've just, for instance, announced with partners new regenerative agriculture program to support corn suppliers in France. And that's to bring farming to more sustainability, to enable them to measure, module, and accelerate regenerative outcome. We do the same with farmers in Tanzania, where we grow also under the seaweeds for carcinogens. So the idea is to try to think of all supply points
Mm.
and where you can really add value in such a way to make it more sustainable and, of course, more stable. With regards to technology, you're absolutely spot on. It's now on the center of things. It's no longer aiding things, and I think well, I can mention very proudly one of the things we've done in Singapore. It's Alfie. We call it Alfie. That's the automated laboratory for ingredient exploration. So the idea is to have it's actually the first of its kind, a laboratory using advanced analytics, data analytics, for you to be able to accelerate the innovation, to be able to provide these future-proof solutions we just talked about. When you automate repetitive tasks like sample creation, testing, data analysis, what comes out of sample, you free your scientists' time to go and do the innovation they need to do. And that gives you more space and more opportunity to be creative. And believe it or not, that Alfie is able to predict a lot of useful formulas that could on its own be a solution even without iteration. So indeed you have to be on the center of it in regards to automation and AI. And then finally, you need to look at your sustainability and energy, to your point, for sure. So what we do, and I think all the industry is trying to do also is to look at our carbon footprint and energy. So new ways, new of processing ingredients in such a way to save uh, energy. Give you an example. Our clean label starches that are hitting the market now, uh, uh, they are today 34% less carbon and around 35% less water usage. Our sucralose has already achieved 20% less carbon footprint. So the idea is to continue to look at ways where you can contribute to the good of the environment while keeping obviously your solutions alive and giving your consumers what they want. And it's no secret, agriculture is probably one of the strong attention, the better it is for the whole world.
Thank you. What point that I would like to draw your attention from perspective of the viewers today is I hear a couple of times from people, if I look from a common people perspective, my vanilla doesn't taste the same. My coffee's flavor is changing. I am a tea connoisseur. I find sometimes the flavor also make changing a bit. Is it thing happening in my mind or it's happening really? Is a question which people may have for you. And what I heard, very interesting approach, the way you spoke about the regenerative farming, the seaweed being cultivated very responsibly in Tanzania, to the regenerative approach you spoke about things being done in France. I think that is very interesting. So given the way we are seeing not just the climate change, but the way things are having the impact on agriculture, you are seeing those as real and you are addressing those, I believe, when you say regenerative farming and all of these.
Absolutely. And look, change in taste or flavor. When you're dealing with nature, some things are inevitable. Uh, get a couple of weeks of dry weather in Florida, and the citrus in the world would taste differently. Or Brazil, for instance. Largely, these two countries are responsible for probably the larger amount of citrus around the world. That's something you cannot control. What you can do, you can modulate. So you can get this natural flavor that you get impacted by nature in ways you cannot control, and try with the formulation of the whole thing, be it a juice or a cookie, employing this citrus flavor to modulate that taste and bring it as close as possible to the one you're used to. But if you ask me, I would be happy to see that the taste changes a little bit as long
Okay.
as I'm buying from responsible suppliers, because that's what it is. When you're
Wonderful
dealing with
statement.
nature, it can never be the same.
Appreciate this. Yep.
Yeah, and if you prepare the same meal at your home using the same ingredients, trust me, a minor difference in temperature will create a different texture or taste. We should celebrate that. That's natural. I worry more about things that never change, to be honest.
Okay.
It's not a bad thing if your taste changes a bit. Yeah.
This is a wonderful point, actually. Yeah, so people trying to hold the fort, oh, this is one I'm used to, but also appreciating the change that's happening is to be more responsible, you're saying. It's an
Yeah.
amazing statement to really understand. The other point across our the SAID, uh, which is SAED, supply chain, AI, energy, and demography. Another interesting aspect where technology is taking a center stage in doing things. And you talked about Alpha and the way it is trying to actually help scientists free of their time use more of analytics and bring. Are you seeing that there is the earlier way you said it takes about a year's time for a particular cheese flavor to come to market? With this technology, are you really seeing a significant change in the way these happens, Hussam?
Probably, but I wouldn't say significant. Look, the majority of the time you require to put a new cheese or yogurt or cookie in the market is about making sure it's stable.
Okay.
A stability test for a new formula can go anywhere between 3 to 6 months. You do not want to put a product on the shelf and find out later that it is behaving differently, or the texture is changing, or it's getting a different taste. So all these are points that would require time, and these are methods that you need to do. Without going into so many details, it's actually aging or accelerating the degeneration of the formula for you to see how would this product behave, say, during the shelf time of, call it, a year. What would it look like? For you to do
Okay.
them right, you need time. Where you save time is in the solution finding and solution iteration. So instead of your scientist spending time trying to, okay, here's solution A, let me try it, produce a sample, see how it works, get the results, analyze them, go for stage two. All these repeated stuff can be given to Alfie, to a machine, and the scientist can free more time to find the next solution. So you can get more targeted, accurate solution within a shorter period of time. That's correct. But are you going to make this 1 year, 6 months? I'd say no.
Okay.
It would still need time.
So
Yeah.
the precision and the diverse way of different combinations and I would say alternatives being evaluated, to evaluate that is becoming more plausible. Time-wise, it may or may not shrink so much, but yes, there is a shrinkage that's happening. That's a very interesting approach,
You know,
which I guess.
absolutely. And then look, technology is surprising us every time with new innovations. The machines we used to use probably 20 years back
Right.
to stability test are way much better these days. And
Mm,
we can be more accurate, we can be more confident. Similarly, also the machines that produce your samples at your lab are way more advanced and can give you something as close as possible to the factory setup. So you're also saving time. So clearly we're making progress for sure.
thank you. I will switch this discussion to a slightly different, which is from your vantage point, particularly because you are in a geography where the demography and I would say the median age is very different than what we can see in many parts of the global north or the
Right.
Western hemisphere primarily. So, from your vantage point of the geography, you see a market where population in south is much younger than north. That's what we just mentioned. How do you see this contrasting demography trajectories are shaping their respective contributions to a more sustainable planet, uh, improved quality of life, particularly the role of uh, rapidly expanding youth population in the global south? Your
Yep.
market, primarily the Middle East, Central Europe, okay,
Exactly.
Africa,
Yep.
Turkey,
Look, you're spot on. It, the majority of growth in areas like mine or in the South generally are demographically related. So it's not only the growth, the population growth, it's more importantly for us, the urbanization rate.
right?
And today's urbanization rate, I could be I could be slightly off, but I would say in Africa is around 7 to 8%, which is huge. You're looking at cities of 1 million population popping up every couple of years. Now that drives a whole range of change in consumer habits, in consumer demands, expectations, needs. You're a working person now in a city where probably you have less time to cook. You have a lunch break somewhere that's not home. You start to have a different home with a different way of cooking, and you start, even if we talk in Africa, to have a fridge. Then you can keep products that you were not able to keep earlier. It drives a whole host of changes. It's like creating a new set of products because of these demographic changes. So that's one important factor. That's growth. But then there is another thing to it. These are much younger population compared to the north. That means they are typically more open to newness.
Okay.
They're more open to tasting to new things, open to change, uh, which is no surprise that you do not expect someone my age to start new food habits. But if you are in early 20s, why not? Especially if you are as connected globally with the technology like it is these days. So that's also driving a lot of innovation, I'd say, in that part of the world. Uh, and it is a very interesting kind of dynamics, to be honest, because you're sitting out there with a specific affordability challenge or limitation, but you're connected globally and you expect that global level, let's say, uh, product within your affordability. And that presents us with very interesting challenge sometimes, where you need to respect the needs of your young, growing, high aspiration population, and give them what they really crave for, but within their affordability realities. Uh, that's a dynamic you see in this part of the world, probably quite different from other areas. And then I think you have more educated people as a result also of that demographic change and urbanization. And we would be seeing very soon, we started to see very, very modest though, innovation driven from that part of the world, given that food is local again. So I think that those people would be able to understand and address the needs of their own uh, community, probably in a way that some other um, yeah, geographically positioned people might not find it easy to do.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So cities coming, a million population city coming every few years, a very aspirational group of people, not afraid of change because we are talking about younger demography and with sophistication towards education growing faster, maybe compared to the rest. This is a very interesting place. Things are happening in South, and though food wise, I completely understand there could be local preferences. Maybe one last question here before we end, Sam. So, how do you see the value that is getting created from this global south, highly aspirational, very different demand, very innovative way that things are going to happen, and you're seeing that happen now, uh, being leveraged by the global north, or how do you see that?
I think that's going to happen for sure, and it's starting to happen. I cannot talk too much about details because some of this is still really in the making. But look, not only us, many of our peers, many of our customers also are looking at collaboration at global accounts. We have a lot of examples where some of our customers and peers and us have been very keen on collaborating with uh, universities in Africa to work with students and PhD students on some of the research they're doing, to partner with them, probably support them sometime, learn from them, bring some knowledge to them. That's for sure going to happen. You cannot address the needs of the population without being in many ways part of it.
True.
That's clear. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. It has been a very exciting conversation with you, knowing about things which most of us see invisible, the value that is getting created. but it is phenomenal way in which science and art come together. That precisely the way that you explained. And
Yeah.
we could see certain things from the vantage point given the transition happening across, say, in form of the demography and the changes and things happening in your geography. With this, I thank you very much on behalf of our audience and on behalf of the time that you spent with us and making us know about all of this. Thank you again, Sam. Wish you a very
Thank you very
wonderful
much.
new year.
Appreciate it. I mean, thanks again. I'm very happy talking to you, and it was a pleasure for me as well.